Chandy.
Ah, Mr. Slankeen. This is Mr. Muir, your hotel manager. Mr. Boris Slankeen, the artistic director of our symphony orchestra.
How do you do, sir?
How do you do?
So sorry I wasn't on hand to meet you in all this rush.
Not at all. Excuse us, will you please? Now, look, what has happened? Jurasov is here, but where's the rest of the party?
Just London fog again. By the way, I want to... These program changes I've just been handed, is it a joke?
I thought you would like to know what music we finally decided upon.
You agreed the program 3 months ago. Now you spring these changes on me. What are your objections, Comrade Jurasov? My objections are quite simply these. Do we really have to have this flag-waving rubbish of Pyriev's?
I recommended that be included.
I see. Jurasov, this tour is not designed just to advertise your musical importance or to indulge your ego, but to perform works that are most representative of our country. By composers who suck up to the state dogma. Well, I'm not having endorsed by my name. You put these things in, you can have them taken out.
As artistic director, I do not choose to.
As embassy cultural attaché, I agree. Then you should ask a circus ringmaster to conduct, not me. Oh, that's enough, Jurasov. Don't trade too much on your standing. This is a goodwill tour. We want no trouble on it, least of all from you. Don't lecture me, Cherny.
Jurasov, I would keep a guard on my tongue if I were you. Remember, you are performing a duty for your country, and you forget that at your risk. They've still not arrived, then?
No, not a sign of them.
Bob Shoesmith. What do you
Tony
want?
Kimber, hello. You know my partner, Ian Suter.
No.
Tony Kimber, Foreign Office. What are you doing here?
Well, I'm chaperoning our newfound friends, the Albanians. Oh, general buying and scraping. Incident squasher, oil on troubled waters pourer.
Well, snaps.
But you two, who for?
For the hotel. Can't think why. Enough Albanian embassy guards crawling about these corridors to step on any trouble, or anybody.
Oh, well, here goes then. About turn. Hands across the Balkans. Oh, well, I'll see you under the table at toasting time. Bye-bye. Last week, it was the delegation from Uzbekistan. You civilians don't know what hardships are.
Oh, well, it's all good, clean fun, isn't it?
Look here, and this hotel's one of our plushiest clients, and their checks always come in on the dot, so let's not begrudge them some professional service.
Well, if you're so keen, you better get into that reception and stop any gate crashes. Go on.
Suter, the Albanian embassy says that there are to be no individual interviews with members of their orchestra without their okay.
And that means no interviews, period.
Well, we shall have to play ball. Any journalist you see leading a flute player down a corridor, shoo him along to our press officer. There's a good chap.
Oh, quite a blow for freedom of speech, isn't it?
Never mind. You know why I hired you? I don't want this hotel carrying the can for any diplomatic bust-up.
This way, if you please. This way, gentlemen. Here. Good evening. You will register.
Welcome to London.
Can I have your passport?
They must have had radar on the airport bus to get through this fog. Good evening.
Ah, good evening. Mia Brava.
Mia
May I
Brava.
help you? Allow me.
Thank you.
Should sign in. Here?
Tamara Petrovna.
Miss Petrovna. Yes, it is, surely.
Yes.
Tamara Petrovna. Well, I never... Here, you'll recognize this thing.
We have met.
Indeed we have. Kropotny, Vladimir Kropotny. Your father must have spoken of me. We were great friends in the old days.
I am afraid I cannot remember.
Oh, yes. You are beautiful, even as a schoolgirl. Tell me, your father,
How is he?
My porter is waiting.
Oh, don't worry. I will see you to your room. I've had no news, none. Not since I left Albania. I'm a British citizen now. I work for the newspapers here. Central European expert.
My father is a very sick man. Now, if you will excuse me.
Sick, tell me. Tell me, are they still holding him?
I'm afraid I cannot talk to
What's the matter, my dear? We are running late. Do you have your room number?
Yes, I will see her to her room.
If you don't mind. Excuse me. There's only half an hour till the reception. You have to change quickly. Here's a lift to your room. Tell me, Mr.
Suter.
Mr. Suter. Who is that individual there?
Oh, his name's Kropotny. He's a journalist on The Sun.
Everything all right, Mr. Sankey?
Mr. Muir, members of the orchestra are not to be importuned by journalists. I thought we made that completely clear.
Naturally, we'll do our best.
Please do.
Oh, what's he on about?
Oh, that bird Kropotny popped up from nowhere and waylaid one of them.
Kropotny. Isn't he a political journalist?
Oh, dynamite, the stuff he writes.
Oh, for heaven's sake, Suter, get rid of him.
Well, if you're going to keep the press out, you're going to have to lock the doors.
Well, head them off. Steal them into the press office. Get them drunk. You've had your instructions. No personal interviews.
All right. Mr. Kropotny.
Yes? Ah, Suter. The wheel turns, eh? We are falling over ourselves to make them welcome.
Then what are you doing cuddling up to them, eh? I saw you. And you've been warned. No sneak interviews on these premises.
Uh-huh, I'll remember that. Whose side are you on, theirs?
The hotels. They're merely asking a little respect for their privacy.
Dear Mr. Suter, that lady is an old family friend.
Yeah.
I was simply making myself known as a social courtesy.
Well, she'd be as well cutting her throat as be seen by one of her people talking to you.
Ah, don't worry. There's no chance I'd contaminate her. She's different stuff from her papa, from what I saw. Chiribai. Oh, Suter. You sure they haven't got at you, eh? Given you a routine brainwashing? You can start acting like one of them before you know it.
Mr. Kimber to see you, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Kimber.
Good evening, sir.
We have a drink, time for a drink before we go.
Oh, I think so, yes, a small 45. Scotch, please.
Mm-hmm. Yes. You have soda?
Thank you. My people at the Foreign Office, Mr. Newton, are delighted at the interest you're taking in this visit.
I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you. Of course, it's tremendously important to us for diplomatic and trade reasons. It's the first contact we've managed to make with the Albanians.
It's important for music.
Yes, of course. But I imagine the visit wouldn't mean very much without Yurosov.
5 years ago, I'd never heard of Yorosov. We've heard a lot since then. And now, to my mind, he's incomparable.
There you are, my good man.
Well, very nice, too. Watch out it doesn't turn to rags at midnight, won't you? Keep off the hard stuff. Now, your invitation, please.
By all means.
Sorry, Mr. Kropotny, not on someone else's tickets.
You cannot stop me going in. This is a press invitation. Throw me out and you insult 1 million of the public.
Anything wrong, Mr. Schmidt?
This is not Mr. Kropotny's invitation. It was addressed to your music critic.
There is no such thing as a personal invitation to members of my newspaper. This was handed on to me.
I'm afraid if we'd known that, we shouldn't have dreamed of sending it.
I see. All right, I challenge you to ring my editor and to state flatly you refuse admission to an accredited representative.
Perhaps I had better consult my ambassador.
Oh,
before
yes,
taking it.
this will make very good reading the morning after you arrive.
In my country, any member of the press behaving so disgracefully...
Yes, yes. It is a very good idea that you have refused me. Thank you. I think I'll be able to use that. Good night, gentlemen.
Kropotny! Very well.
Thank you.
I look to you to keep this madman in his place.
Have you been to one of these? Excuse me. Excuse me. Been to one of these bars?
No, not really. No, not
Oh, excuse me, Miss Petrovna. I should like you to meet a friend of mine, Miss Heather Keyes.
How do you do? How do you do?
Yes, oh, excuse me, will you?
Yes, of course. Welcome to England. I don't suppose you've seen anything except fog so far. We really should have arranged some better weather for you.
Oh, it's all right. The weather is unimportant where the people are so kind.
Oh, that's right.
Ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. On behalf of the Albanian government, may I welcome you May I first introduce Mr. Boris Slantin, the artistic director of our Albanian National Symphony Orchestra. And Stefan Jurasov, whom we are very proud to present to the British public, conducting some of his own work. Our orchestra is delighted to be visiting this great world center of music and to meet some of the distinguished personalities we see here today. We invite your press to take what pictures they wish, and our director will be pleased to deal with any questions.
How well do you know God Save the Queen?
I trust that our talents will prove a match for it.
Excuse me, please. Yes, I have a question for Mr. Jurasov. Mr. Jurasov, is it true that some of your important compositions have been banned by the Communist Party?
May I answer that, please? I do not wish musicians to be exposed to questions that are loaded and provocative.
Oh, yes, I see.
Excuse me. I feel quite able to answer this question for myself, though I am really only qualified to answer questions on music, Mr.
Kropotny. Here we go. Mr. Jurasov, do you accept the dictates of the state in composing your works?
When I am composing, I'm only really aware of one taskmaster, one I would call my muse. She is somewhat less tangible than the state, but even more exacting.
Excuse me. No, my point is, do you agree with your state's censorship of music and the arts?
That is insultingly put.
I cannot imagine any composer agreeing with censorship. But is there in any country a composer so pampered that everything he produces is accepted without question by those in a position to promote it?
You are making excuses?
Government or private. Any impresario who pays the piper, as you say, likes to call the tune.
That's a yes man's answer. You beg the question.
Mr. Kropotny, may I ask you a question? Are you as free to write what you think as you are to throw such questions at me?
Of course I am. You are in a free country now. That is why I came here.
You have no editor cutting your articles, refusing to publish anything of yours which might conflict with your newspaper's policy?
Well now, my articles are always handled with the greatest respect.
I'm quite sure they are, Mr. Kropotny. I'm quite...
Touché, Kropotny, old man.
Brandy, please wait.
Well, that was quite a performance, wasn't it?
Yes, I don't think he needs us to look after it.
Kimber, do you think you could get yourself away from them and introduce me? I promise to look in the festival hall.
Well, I'll try.
Can I get you a drink, Mr. Jones?
No.
He certainly took Kropotny down to peg or two, didn't he?
I introduce you to Mr. Edmund Newton, chairman of the British Music Foundation.
We hear much of Mr. Newton in my country, too. I'm honored to meet you at last.
I, too. Surprised, perhaps, the man of your gifts is so tactful with those who control his work.
But they don't.
Well, whatever you say, I will consider it a privilege to promote anything of your composition.
Mr. Newton, I welcome this trip, partly for the opportunity it gave me of meeting you. I have with me some work, which I hope you might be interested to hear at some convenient opportunity.
Indeed.
Excuse me. May I interrupt you for a moment? Mr. Newton, I should like to introduce to you some members of the orchestra.
Well, yes, of course. I should be most interested to hear your work. Excuse me.
Mr. Shrewsbury.
It's yourself.
I wonder, would you do me a service?
If I can.
I have a small token. I wonder, would you be kind enough to see that Mr. Newton receives it?
What's that?
Yes?
For Miss Petrovna, sir.
I'll take it. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, Miss Petrovna. A cable for you.
The cable. Not that cable. Excuse me. Father! Oh, what's the matter? Is it bad news? Oh, please, I must go to my room.
Let me help you. I'm so sorry.
Is there something I can do, comrade?
Excuse me, please.
Sankin, what's happened?
Something seems to have upset Comrade Petrovna.
Come in. Oh, thank you.
Tamara, drink this. It'll help. I should never have left Albania. It was my father who insisted that I should. He said, don't make the same mistakes as me, and take this opportunity. I left to please him. Now he's dead. Oh, Tamara, I'm so dreadfully sorry.
I'll leave you with Heather. If there's anything at all that I can do to help, please.
Mr. Suter, perhaps you could help.
In what way?
While my father lived, I would have endured anything in order to be with him. Now that he is dead, there's nothing left for me in Albania. I do not wish to return.
Political asylum?
Yes, it's what my father really wanted. But I am so closely watched. Oh, please, Mr. Suter.
It's...
You must help. You simply must.
I wanted to see you, Tamara. What has happened? Has something upset you? It was very kind of you both to help, but perhaps now you would like to go back to the reception?
Anything at all that we
Thank
can do
you,
to
Mr.
help.
Suter. It is my job to look after Comrade Petrovna.
It's all a bit tricky, isn't it?
If she wants to stay in this country, we must do something to help.
And well, the first thing it'll do is set off a first-class international row. We were hired by the hotel to smooth out trouble, not to help start it. Anyway, I know nothing about this Tamara Petrovna.
Oh, what's that got to do with it? She needs help.
And it wouldn't be the first time a nutcase had applied for asylum. And what do you know about her?
I know that her father's just died in prison. I know that she's frightened and in trouble. And how can you call a girl a nutcase who had the courage to tell me, a complete stranger, exactly what she thinks about the regime, who seems openly opposed to it and who's risking I don't know what every time she opens her mouth?
Well, they're not risking much the way they've got her watched.
This is her chance. She's in England. She's only got to open the door and walk out.
Yeah, and if she does, and if she's refused asylum, she'd walk back into a right pickle.
Oh, but surely they'll give them freedom to go shopping and ordinary things like that.
All right. Let's see. Ring her. Say she was asking about souvenirs and you know just the place, all right? If they'd like to go with you, we'll whisk her off to the Home Office and see what they can do for her.
Yes, that's marvellous.
If they can't help her, that way there'll be no harm done.
Come in.
Tamara. I realize that you're upset, but look, however much one differed from your father's outlook, I'm sure that he considered this trip an honor for you. He wanted you to go.
You do not know what my father thought.
Yes, I do. I respected him. I respect you, Tamara. That's why I risked my official position to recommend you for this tour.
For God's sake, leave me alone.
Tamara,
No.
don't you realize that...
Hello. Yes, it is. To go shopping? Why, how very kind of you. Yes, I should be delighted to. Oh, I think tomorrow morning after the rehearsal would be most convenient. Will you? Then I shall look forward to that greatly. Thank you.
Who was that?
An English girl I met at the reception. She has asked me to go shopping.
You only accept private invitations at our discretion?
Why? Must I tell such people they must state their case before a committee? We are in their country.
Yes, with a full official program and no time to go rushing off on your own with whoever you choose.
Will you please go? I wish to speak to Mr. Stefan Yurasov.
It's very good of you to fling your doors open for me this time of the night. In the circumstances, I felt I couldn't wait a moment to hear what's on this recording.
No, not at all. We're delighted to help. Let me get you a scotch.
So extraordinary that Saratov couldn't hand it to me personally.
Yes, there must be some reason for it.
Well, there's only one way to find out.
Thank you.
That's to play it. Are we ready?
Yes, yes, indeed.
I heard about your father. I should like to have met him. He was a man of great courage.
I wish I had as much. Nothing they ever did to him broke his spirit. Oh, how I hate them!
Hate them by all means. But by deliberately antagonizing men like Schlankin, you only acknowledge them.
Should I do as you do and pretend they don't exist?
See them as they are. Insects.
I can't.
Then you're still a child.
You are so calm. Nothing ever disturbs you.
Except you.
Oh. Look how they've interfered with your music. They've banned your finest work. And yet you say they can't hurt you. You're that strong, you're so much above them, and it doesn't matter.
It matters. But how much? Don't jump. Now, pick up the receiver. Say, I am sleeping. Good night, whoever you are. I am sleeping. Good night, whoever you are.
I am sleeping. Good night, whoever you are.
Bravo.
Oh. Stefan.
Mm-hmm.
I have decided not to go back to Albania.
I thought perhaps you might.
Will you stay? Oh, Stefan, listen to me. I have made up my mind. Oh, think what it would mean to us to live here. The way these people treated you tonight, you could work here in complete freedom.
I thought I would find you here.
Get out!
I wanted to give you your social program starting tomorrow morning.
Tell the ambassador that I'm not a performing bear.
I will convey that to him, word for word.
Thank you.
Oh, by the way, His Excellency has noted your request to change the concert program. However, he confirms my original choices and sees no reason to substitute yours.
Very well. Now, get out of my private affairs.
Private?
sects. Stefan, I have asked some English friends for help. Will you stay?
Fantastic piece of work. Theme is unmistakable.
You've never heard it before?
No, I have all his recordings. This outranks them all. I have no hesitation in saying this is his finest work.
And yet this isn't in their concert repertoire.
Oh, we must face up to the fact that no matter how much they may protest to the contrary, the Albanians will ban any works on the flimsiest of dialectical grounds.
Yes, it's obviously what's happened here. No wonder Eurosop was so cagey about it at the reception.
I wonder if you people can do something for me. I want to have a talk with yourself.
But it's hardly in our power to fix that, I'm afraid.
Not through formal channels, perhaps. What I had in mind was a private interview.
Look, sir, we've got a rather ticklish job.
I have a very, very important proposition to put to him. I promise you'll be interested, otherwise he wouldn't come to the trouble of smuggling this tape through to me.
I'm sorry, Mr. Newton, but it's out of the question.
Bob, why not?
Look, we're hired by this hotel to prevent trouble, not help provoke it. And getting at Eurosop about that recording would be quite a way to start something.
I see. Well, thank you for letting me hear it.
Not at all.
Well, I'd like to do more.
I hope your duty to the Albanians will not prevent you keeping this to yourselves. Good night.
I'll show you out, Mr.
It's all very well for him. Look, Bob, perhaps you ought to know that one of the Albanians has asked us to help them.
Oh, in what way?
They want to apply for political asylum.
Oh, great. I mean, if we really wanted to start things, they could have asked a taxi driver or a policeman, but no, they had to come to us.
Bob, they need help.
Well, tell them wrong shop.
We can't refuse to help that girl. We can't.
Now, if we don't, maybe the end of more than just a beautiful friendship without a tell. It might just be the end of a beautiful partnership.
Slankin, what do you want at this time of night?
Charity, tell me, have we the means of finding out a little more about a man and a woman? An English man and woman.
English?
Yes, they were at the reception tonight.
Possibly.
Their names.
Why?
I think it advisable that members of the orchestra should not become too intimate with people they know very little about.
Yes?
Also, it might be advisable to keep under strict surveillance Comrade Eurosop and Tamara Petrovna. Just in the cause of keeping a happy, united family.
Suter and Shoesmith Limited. Yes, speaking.
This is the Albanian Embassy, Miss Keyes. We are telephoning you on behalf of Miss Tamara Petrovna. She has asked us to pass a message to you.
Oh, yes. Not another of your social calls.
Yes.
Unfortunately, Miss Petrovna will not be able to make the shopping expedition to which you so kindly invited her. She'd completely forgotten an official engagement set down for this morning.
Oh, I see.
She's very sorry about this, but you do understand, Miss Keyes, that the orchestra has a very tight schedule. But she did ask me to present her apologies and to thank you.
Not at all. Please tell her that I'm very sorry.
Thank you, Miss Keyes. Goodbye.
Well, that was the Albanian Embassy.
Didn't I tell you so? Well, now we know just how tight a hold they keep on her.
She's a prisoner. And we were the only people she could appeal to. We've got to do something.
All right. But look, if I do, it'll be right off my own bat. Quite against a professional contract and against the trust of my partner. Now, if I think this is more important, I can't expect other people to, too. So we tell nobody. All right? Nobody.
We are waiting for you, Miss Petrovna.
Thank you. Suter, you've rang me.
That's the only way I can catch you alone. Now, it's all arranged for tonight.
Oh, I don't believe it.
What time's the concert finish?
A little after 10.
Fine. Well, this is a plan of the concert hall. Now, here's an exit and ways of getting to it, you see?
Yes. What must I do?
Now, just listen to me. There'll be a car waiting for you outside, and I'll be at this exit at exactly 10 o'clock, all right?
Yes. Yes, I understand. Mr. Suter.
Yeah?
May I bring someone else with me?
Oh, look, don't bring out the whole orchestra. This is not a concert tour. Who is it?
Stefan Yurasov.
Yurasov?
Oh, please, Mr. Suter, please, please.
Oh, all right. Might as well be hanged for a sheep as a lamb. I'll get out of the second floor, all right?
Yes.
You can always tell them the lift was acting up.
Pardon?
Stuck. See you at 10 o'clock. To go. Better go and wait in the car, I think.
You sure you can manage?
I should imagine so.
Are they here?
They said they would be.
Good. Can you please tell me where you are? Get out of my way. We'll be quiet now. I say, get out of my way! Come on! Quick! Come on! Right! Come back to yourself!
You better try some of this single malt whiskey. I'd back it against that Bolton brew of yours any day.
Mr. Newton.
I got your message. Oh, what are you two doing here?
I have asked Mr. Suter for help.
For help?
Yes, Mr. Newton, they're going to apply for political asylum.
I see. I'm delighted. Well, I asked for a personal interview, but this... Well, how can I help?
Well, I've arranged to take Mr. Yurasov and Miss Petrovna to the Home Office.
Yes?
It would be a great help if you'd agree to sponsor Mr. Yurasov's application to stay in
But
this
of course I'd
country.
be delighted.
Is it necessary to put Mr. Newton to so much trouble?
Well, there's no trouble
Well,
at
it
all.
may be necessary, since you have no political grounds for staying, unlike Miss Petrovna.
I have no politics.
Well, there is another way. It's not open to everybody, but to a man of your standing it's possible. You simply apply for permission to stay here and work. Once that's been granted, your government can kick up any fuss it likes, but it cannot possibly force you to return.
There will be trouble, you can be quite sure of that.
Mr. Newton, if you'd be willing to be on tap here in case they wish to contact you about anything.
I should be delighted to be here, on tap.
Are you ready?
Yes, we're quite ready.
This is the number of the car. The man was tall, well-built, dark, and with a beard in his early 30s.
But this sounds like this man's suitor who works for the hotel.
Very possibly. I'll get in touch with the ambassador. I suppose you're sure about this, huh? I think so.
Would any of you gentlemen like a cup of tea?
No, thank you, miss.
Here we are.
Well, Mr. Newton, all is now well. Just a moment. I think Inspector Ward of Scotland Yard here has first claim on your time. Hello, Soutar.
Ward, I thought you'd be around sooner or later.
Complaint has been laid against you by the Albanian embassy.
Dear, dear.
No laughing matter. Do you own a motor car with this registration number?
Yes, that's mine.
The Albanians claim that you forcibly abducted two of their nationals, that you assaulted others who tried to prevent you. They're asking that a Mr. Stefan Yurasov and a Miss Tamara Petrovna be returned to their hotel without hindrance.
Oh, but this is not true. Mr. Suter was helping us to escape. It's they who are trying to hold us. They'll force us.
I'm sorry to disappoint you, Ward, but the Home Office has granted permission for Mr. Yurasov and Miss Petrovna to stay in this country. Mr. Newton sponsored their application.
Is this correct, sir?
Yes, the Home Office rang me here over 2 hours ago.
Over 2 hours ago. Thank you very much, sir. Well, it would appear, Hugh Smith, that you haven't wasted much time. But, of course, there's still a little matter of assault charge for the Albanians' case present.
Well, if that's all I get out of this little lot, I shall be a very happy man. Actually, of course, I was defending them against assault.
Yes, that's as may be, but I still get the impression that your government won't let it stay there. Good night.
Good night. Oh, pompous old boy.
But it will be all right.
Oh, my dear, don't worry. It'll be perfectly all right.
The first thing we have to do is to find you somewhere to live.
Oh, really? That'd be my privilege. You must be my guest for as long as you wish.
Well, it won't be necessary. We can now go back to our hotel.
Back to the...
Stefan, we can't.
But why not? Now we have legal authority to stay here. There's no reason why I shouldn't complete my tour. I have still 2 concerts.
Stefan, if you return to the hotel, they will never let you go again.
Things are going to be quite difficult enough without your finishing your tour.
Well? Very well.
But, Mr. Muir, I have a duty to my readers. I demand to see Yurasov.
Mr. Kopatny, you've been told that Yurasov is ill, so there is no case for a personal interview.
Very well. I will print what I think. He's quarreled with the tour management, hasn't he?
Well, that's the place to make a fool of yourself. In your newspaper, Mr. Kopatny, not here.
Zedek, a great story.
Ah, morning.
Thanks for telling me.
Telling you what?
That under the guise of working for an hotel on a security contact, you contrived the defection of 2 Albanian nationals, started what looks like the biggest bloody rows in the U2, and left me to explain it all to our employers.
Now, steady on board.
Steady on nothing. They've slapped a note into the Foreign Office demanding them back. You're my partner, and I've made my views clear. Now, what the hell's got into you?
Mr. Kimber.
Thank you. All right, Suter, where are they? Yurasov and the girl, Petrovna.
Sorry. You got us into this, you can get us out.
Now, look, Kimber, the plain truth of the matter is that these 2 people have...
In a diplomatic row this size, that's the least important thing. Look, even if we prove they weren't abducted, they'll say that we officially connived at this, seduced them into defecting to make propaganda out of it.
Oh, who's going to believe that rubbish?
The point is that you, a private citizen, have helped to sabotage friendly relations with Albania, just as we were starting to see some form of daylight, and we'll be blamed for it.
Look, I knew exactly what the repercussions might be, but I had to help.
Well, now, unless we can give their embassy some satisfaction, provide them with a face-saver, they're going to suspend negotiations on everything that we've been working on for months.
It does seem a high price to pay for the freedom of 2 people, doesn't it?
Oh, don't be funny, Suter. We might indeed have to examine whether we can afford to indulge the whim of these 2 musicians at such a crucial stage.
Let me put you straight. You can't afford not to. Are you going to sacrifice the freedom of these 2 people to kowtow to some government you're out to make a trade pact with?
Well, I just don't believe in that. Even if it means hazarding my whole business.
Now, wait a minute. It happens to be
Anyway, you're too late.
Too late? Why?
At 10:30 last night, they applied to the Home Office, and they've been granted permission to stay in this country.
I see. I suppose I've got you to thank for that.
Not me. Such people have to put their own cases. Do you mean to say the Foreign Office is going to overrule a Home Office decision?
No, of course
Look, it's up to you to back it up to defend these people. If not, the newspapers will have the skin off your back.
Ian, are you threatening now to blow this to the press? Have you gone right off your nut?
I can just see what a meal of Kropotkin and people like that
All right, all right. The damage is done. It's our job to clear up the mess as quietly as we can. But look, for heaven's sake, from now on, you keep out of it. Now, will you promise me that?
All right. Just as long as Yurosov and Petrovna are not exposed to any pressure from those colleagues of theirs.
Thank you.
I'll say the damage is done. Do you realize that you've undermined the whole structure of this business of ours? Now that I know which side of the fence we're supposed to be on, I'd better go and explain it to our employers.
Well, there's the British public for you. Not a bad taste of how they feel.
Perhaps a little too kind for one's own good.
Wait till they hear your Freedom Symphony. I can think of no greater thrill for our musicians than to play it themselves. Well, here's to one thing I'm certain of. A tremendous future here.
Well,
The British are refusing us access to Yurosov.
Then is our ambassador going to make our accusations public?
No.
You know, we can't go on covering for Yurosov's absence in this way.
If their Foreign Office pretends they have no idea where Yurosov is, we now have.
Huh?
We believe they may be staying with Mr. Edmund Newton, this girl who works with Mr. Suter. She has been there 3 times since Yurosov disappeared.
Newton. So Yurosov let himself be bought.
Perhaps we can persuade him where his true interests lie, now that we know where to find him.
Thank you.
I've drafted some proposals for you, which I hope will interest you.
Thank you very much.
You must be very excited with your press. Well, I've got some meetings to arrange for you. I hope to add any ideas of your own to these.
I warn you, I shall probably have many.
Excellent. So much the better.
Mr. Newton, please.
Yes, sir?
We would like to see Mr. Yurosov, please.
Oh, I'll see if he's at home, sir.
Now, look, we just want to see Mr. Yurosov. You're not going to tell us that he's not here. We know that he's here.
What's your name? I can't...
Comrade Yurosov. We were simply asking the right to see you.
What do you want?
We want you to come back with us.
Ian, Tamara and I have been flat hunting, and we found the most heavenly place. No premium,
Good.
super kitchen, and a balcony overlooking the river.
Great.
So expensive.
Well, why worry? In a capitalist society, you'll be allowed to print your money.
Be an angel and help us to negotiate the lease, will you?
Oh, but we've caused you so much trouble already.
Not at all. It's a pleasure. Ah, dear.
Suter and Shoesmith Limited? Oh, yes, Mr. Newton. Just one moment.
Hello? Yes? He's been what? When was this? I see. I'll be right over. Bye.
Is something wrong?
I'm afraid Yurosov has gone.
Gone?
Some men from the Albanian embassy called, forced their way in, and took him with them.
Oh, no. No.
Well, what are we waiting for?
We're waiting for His Excellency the Ambassador. If you refuse to listen to our point of view...
I will listen, but I will not change my mind.
Yurosov, under our aegis, you've become a European figure.
Or shall we say in spite of it?
And although
We simply want to persuade you to adopt a more amenable frame of mind.
My housekeeper threatened to call the police. Apparently Yurosov stopped her. It might be as well not to try. And then went with them.
They stop at nothing. Oh, what will they do to him?
Who's abducting whom, eh? What's a trace back worth with people who behave like this?
Oh, they've undoubtedly got him in their embassy now.
Will you ring the police or shall I? Or they whip him off in a plane somewhere.
Well, there's no other course, I suppose. It means a complete rupture now, but... well, I suppose we could first demand his release.
It won't be necessary.
Goodness gracious, sir. They let you go? What did What on earth possessed you to go with them?
I owed them at least my reason.
They didn't force you to go?
No, they didn't force me to go. They would have liked to have forced me to have stayed. But I told them that I insisted on my right to choose where I lived.
Yes, but they had you on their own ground. Do you mean to tell me they let you come back?
They threatened me, of course, but they were only bluffing.
Oh, Stefan, he's such a risk.
I should like to speak with her alone. Do you mind?
Of course, of course.
Surely.
Oh, so delighted to have you back.
Thank you.
Oh. Are you all right?
Of course I am. Tamara, I want to ask you a question. If I decided to go back, would you have come too?
The question doesn't arise.
You decided to live here before you knew what I was going to do.
Oh, Stefan, please.
You see, there are things that we need much more powerfully than love. With you, it's freedom. And with me, it's the mountains and trees of our country. I'm not sure that I could live without them. Do you understand that?
Why, of course I understand that. But what is the use of inspiration to you if you have no freedom to express it?
Here I shall be freer to work, but last night when I listened to my symphony, I really wondered if I could write such music here.
Of course you could. Oh, my dear. We are just beginning to live.
I wonder, but can either of us survive in the kind of world that the other needs?
What have they said to you? What have they done? Why, they have frightened you into thinking like this.
They don't frighten me at all. Otherwise, I should never have gone.
Stefan, I know that it will be difficult for you. I do understand.
I love you. I love you more than I would have believed possible.
And I love you.
You'll be delighted to hear the director of the National Philharmonic has drafted this contract for you. It's for a tour of 10 concerts.
Thank you. I should like time to think it over, if I may.
But of course.
It's just that when so many things one dreamed of attaining become attainable, one begins to doubt them. It's strange, isn't it?
Hey, wait a minute, wait. We must have Yurasov in this. Yurasov. Ah, he's not here. He's not going back. He is that ill?
Comrade Yurasov may have to stay here a few days.
Mr. Slunkin, I've just been to his hotel room. He was not there. I had his number. Where is he, Mr. Slunkin? A telephone, quick.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you'll kindly have your papers ready, perhaps you'll follow the young lady through that door.
He's not here. He has defected. Yurasov has defected. Ah, he has defected.
Has he?
Did well with the symphony.
Yurasov, they said you were sick, but what was it, eh? Now, what was it really about?
Sick? Yes, perhaps. Anyway.
As you see, Mr. Kropotny, Comrade Yurasov is now completely recovered.
Yes, yes, I see, Mr. Swankin.
Are you ready, comrade?
How is she?
Naturally, she's very unhappy.
Well, they're certainly making something out of Tamara's defection. Trust Kropotny.
Well, and how are our crusaders for freedom, eh? A fat lot of good it did, hmm? Our contract. The hotel's being terribly nice about it. They're not actually going to sue us.
All right, Bob, all right.
Well, back to the drawing board. I dare say we've still got a client or two left among this lot somewhere.
Drink?
Then you do realize how near we were to a breakup. And for what? A lady pianist now bawling her eyes out and no fee.
But at least she's not bawling her eyes out in prison.
Bob, we had to help.
I remain unconvinced. What's this?
Slivovitz.
Slipper? Oh, well, I don't care anymore. Ooh! Brother! No, wait a minute. It's not half bad, is it? Let's have another go.